Welcome everyone to our episode 124 with an honor guest, Rev Eva. I am here with her to talk about guilt, to talk about fear, to talk about many of these toxic emotions. And it's confronting guilt and fear, the path to emotional wellness. So we are going to dive deep into these emotions that we all have experienced. We all have those past wounds that need to be healed in order to move on, to open the pathways to be healthier. So Rev Eva Vennari is the founder of the Elevate Institute, which is a spiritual alchemist and focuses on removing blocks to achieving longevity and healing chronic illness in prime of life professionals. She loves to witness the character development of a person who wants to be better. And be means being more and not doing so much. No, I think, Eva, what do you think?
I think that's true. Yeah, being is about being present and also remembering who we are as an eternal being. If you believe in the eternal soul, it's
Hmm.
learning that and bringing that in. Yeah.
Yes, yes, completely agree. And well, usually I love to hear the stories of how people arrive to what they are doing now. So my first question for you is, how did you arrive into this journey of wellness, into this journey of helping people overcome these emotions and also through an spiritual pathway?
It was a logical progression. You know how when you see something far in the distance, you think, how am I ever going to get there? For me, I had no idea where I was going. I had a nice little blindfold on, and I just kept taking one step in front of another until finally this spiritual alchemy was my modality and my identity, really. And it started with not paying attention to my
Mhm.
own information. So, my own intuition, my own inner feelings, my own inner thoughts, which was normal if you're a child, you know? And so I learned to set aside my own feelings because I heard my parents and other elders in my life say, we know what's better for you. And at some point, there should have been a baton pass that said, okay, you're an adult now. We should teach you how to actually make decisions in life and, how to take responsibility for your emotions and how to work with them. No one ever did that. What I got was, when you're 18, you'll just know. So and I didn't. There wasn't a book of omnipotence that just kind of like all of a sudden I knew it all. It was a lot of hard knocks, the school of hard knocks, learning about intuition, whether to follow it or not. How do you, like today's kids, they learn to follow their emotions only. That's a dangerous place if you don't take your brain with you. And so I had to learn that the hard way too. And it's just a matter of progression. And so by the time I was 20, I had several chronic illnesses, including autoimmune disorder. And I
Mm.
was infertile by 23. I was told I was going through menopause at 28. I know I had arthritis. I had chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression, fibromyalgia, itchy skin, heart palpitations, short-term memory loss. I'm running out of air here, but there were so
Long
many
list.
different things going on. And as I would, like we all do, we take our symptoms and our complaints to the doctor and we
Mm.
say, find out what's wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but they were full of all of these wonderful names, but they lacked the ability to give me a solid solution. And the only solution they gave me was the antidepressant medication and pain pills because the arthritis was very painful. I had sciatica from the age of 23.
Whoa, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
What?
too much. Yes.
So in hindsight, I now see that I was blessed to be so sick so young so that I could recover and still be young enough to teach others how to avoid all of this, or at least what's the path out if you are also in this journey. That's where
Hmm.
it started. But by the time I was stubborn enough to continue to listen to my own thought, finally, if you give your body what it needs, it can heal itself. This was a foundational piece that I was not finding in Western medicine.
Hmm.
Um, but I kept pushing. So it took me 16 years to find what I now offer as mineral alchemy work. And that's science. This is science. It's been studied for more than 50 years of research. It's not brand new. It's just really not well known. Much like chiropractic was 30 years ago. People were very scared of chiropractic. Oh, that's weird. And people are often saying the same thing about mineral work. Oh, that's weird. No, it's not. It's just not everywhere. So,
It is chemistry.
yeah, yes, it is biochemistry, and there's a lot of information out there about it. And the fact that it actually reversed all of my 30 different symptoms, um, I'm my biggest walking billboard, but I tend to, with my clientele, attract just as difficult cases. So a lot of people come to me with, oh, I've got all of those things too, high blood pressure, cholesterol, you name it. They've got the pills for them too, and no problem. We'll get this started. We'll get it going. I'm not afraid of it because the body does. It's so amazing the way that it's designed. And that's how it started. That's how it started was I became interested in this work. I decided to get certified in it for myself, not to
Mhm.
open up a business practice. The day I decided to start practice was when my ex-husband, we had been divorced for 12 years. I got a phone call from the hospital. He had passed away of a heart attack at the age of 45, and he was on 17 medications. And this knowledge and mixed with my knowledge made me very, very clear. I need to let people know they have an option, and then I needed to give them that option. So that's what started this whole mess.
Wow. Well, it's a pretty strong story, and yes, as you mentioned, I think that whenever we feel that we don't have some option, when we start finding close paths in our lives, it opens other doors, and we start just witnessing and reflecting more of how we have done, and the responsibility owning emotions, owning our own journey of health, and trusting more in what we can do and not the external, even if they are experts, because
Yes.
many times I also have faced the word of an expert, and I usually get disappointed because they really, I can see that they don't read. I can see that they just know how to prescribe, and they just memorize the names of the medications and the symptoms. And whenever they listen a symptom, immediately they tell you, well, you have to take this, take it for 3 days, that's it, goodbye,
Yeah.
and see you next time. No?
Well, and the very crazy thing on that note is I realized in the mineral work in this science, we don't depend on symptoms to find out what you need because you could have two entirely or several different scenarios going on inside the body that present with the same symptom, but actually the underlying cause requires a whole different kind of mineral supplementation. So unless you know exactly what the body needs, you're guessing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, and that phrase was really powerful because I also believe that the body is trying to tell us all the time what it needs. And if we listen, if we perceive more, if there is a whole science that is called interoception, and that is listening to your body, listening to the language that is telling you what to, those cravings that sometimes we feel,
Mm-hmm.
those are not cravings, those are uh, whispers. Let's
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
first they start as whisper, and then they start talking, and then they start screaming if you don't listen. But they are telling you what to eat, what kind of food do you need, what kind of minerals you are lacking, as you mentioned, because we have a whole bunch of minerals that are essential for biochemical reactions. And without them, we couldn't just survive. Well, sometimes we survive, but sick.
Well, yeah, you end up kind of like a giraffe on roller skates. Don't
Exactly.
know why that image came to my mind, but that's what it feels like, right? When you're going after, oh, my best friend said I should take this supplement, so that must be good for me. How does she know? Or your sister-in-law at Thanksgiving dinner comes in and says, "Oh, I just found this other new supplement. You should take that." Your doorman says, "Oh, I know you have knee trouble. You should take this chondroitin, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
Okay, all of these things are guesswork. And why would we put anything in our mouth without a test that gives us definitive answers around what's going on with our metabolism? Are we getting rid of the toxins that we are definitely exposed to? And why are the toxins sitting in our bodies in the places they are? And that is determined by our emotions that we have yet to process.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And one of the emotions that we were going to speak about is guilt.
Yeah.
So, what can you tell me about those times when you felt that emotion and how that emotion translates into symptoms
Yeah.
or into chaos in your life?
Yeah. Well, I think a big one is a feeling of guilt over this, the whole process of my parents or my priest or my teacher taught me this about life,
Mm,
about my body, about health. Uh, the big one for me, my mother kept saying, Eva, drink milk. Milk is good for you.
mm,
It was not good for me, but every time I drank it, I heard my mother's voice all the way until I was 32, drinking milk. Come to find out, I'm not allergic, but I had IBS. I mentioned that was one of my symptoms. That
mhm,
comes from not being able to digest dairy from cows. It's one of the things. You end up with leaky gut and IBS and all these things. Every time I had milk that was healthy for me, it's going to do your body good. Remember the commercials? Milk does a body good. Well,
yeah,
it wasn't doing this body good, and it wasn't until that. So this is a whole progression, right? You start off with listening to those who love you, and they're teaching you something that they believe is good for you. Fine, but at some point, we have to listen to the internal wisdom that says, "Okay, if I drink milk, I'm bloated, I'm gassy, I can't keep my food in, it goes out too quick, right?
mm,
How are you supposed to absorb your minerals if you can't keep the food inside?" So then I listened to that. Then there was the mom was wrong. This is where the guilt comes in. Mom was wrong. She must be bad.
mm,
No, she's not bad. She was doing the best she could with the information she had. And so there's a little bit of guilt around I've made a decision for myself to do what I want, what I know is best for me. And
mm,
that can produce guilt. Now, everybody gets there with their own story. Everybody has their own way of getting there. But if
mm,
you have family, then you know that story for yourself because it's usually the ones that love us are the ones that also somehow allow us a space to feel guilt. Um, yeah, and so feeling that guilt can harbor itself into. So here's a crazy thing. I learned this about the human body. We have the part that we can see and touch and feel, right? It's right here in the 3D. There's more of us that is etherical, right? So there's parts of energy, let's call it just energy, it's outside of us. So that energy field is kind of tacky, it's sticky. And
mm,
so if we have an emotion, let's say guilt, and it's somewhere in our tacky field, and it's just sitting there, let's say, maybe 3 inches above the body, all over the body, right? Any emotion you have that you don't process, I've got that guilt. And it's sitting there, and we just decide we're not going to process it. This then actually, this is how manifestation occurs. It actually slows down and becomes related to somewhere. Louise Hay talked about this in her book, You Can Heal Yourself, and how the correlation of emotions to a physical place in the body actually occur, right? And so this emotion, let's say guilt, it slows down. Where do we feel guilt? It's usually in the gut, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere near the gallbladder. It's
yeah,
also a place where we feel anger. And anger is just an accentuated process of being hurt. So all of these things, these emotions are related. And now all of a sudden we have gallstones, liver problems, more digestive problems. All of these things, they're all related. But if we take the time to process the guilt and not just live with it and think, I woke up with this today, therefore it must be with me for the rest of my life. It does
mm,
not have to be, right? So we have to learn how to take responsibility for the whole body, not just the physical, but the emotional and the etherical one too.
yeah. Well, I love that explanation and the references that you made about Louis Hay because I was just speaking right before we connected with my mom about those kind of emotions that we carry for generations because she has had symptoms in her eye, in her left eye,
Mm-hmm.
about not it's macular degeneration.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I think, and you know, when you have read the book of Louis Hay, and you know that anything related to the eyes is that you don't want to watch what is
Yes.
coming.
Yeah.
You are fearful sometimes, or you don't really want to know what is happening, no, or what is coming. And and if it's a left eye, I told her, I think and I feel that is the problems with the masculine side. And I just told her, well, there is something that you need to process, that you need to write, that you need to read something. And of course, I will recommend her books to read about these kind of emotions so that she can process that. And and she told me, no, I don't think I have something. And I said, you have, but it's your job, and I can do it for you.
Yes.
I can give you the information, I can give you the videos, I can give you anything that you want, but you have to let it out.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
And
These layers of existence, when you are aware of them, they become normal to you. But what I've noticed being from the beginning, I knew I was a little different because I could speak with spirits and ghosts and like, and then I was told even there's no such thing as ghosts, and I went, well, who am I talking to? So there, there's a lot of confusion. It's kind of like being born. Of course, we are normal to be born with all five of our senses, to see, to hear, to touch, all of those things. But if everybody was normally not born with eyeballs, right? For us to say we're a little different, we're more sensitive, we have eyeballs, we can see color, we can see sunrise, we can see sunset, we're
mhm,
going to be we're going to be strange to those who were born without eyes.
yeah,
And that's how I equate those spiritual senses. If you know they exist because you've seen the evidence and the the properties behind them, the usefulness in knowing them. It's like saying I don't believe in gravity. It exists.
yes, yes, yeah. There is now a whole new level of information that it has been I think that it has been released in small dosages of people that just comes and speaks about these kind of things. And if you are, let's say, in the same frequency, in the same attunement to the message of these kind of people, then you listen, or something, a book, a podcast, an interview, someone that you know. it's going to talk to you about that, and it's going to tell you about those things, and that will make sense for you a lot. No, I think.
Yeah.
So,
But that's exactly how I found the work. Was I was in so much pain. I was blessed with insomnia at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I took Google and I put in all 30 different symptoms and problems that I knew that I had by name, and was just clear. I need to find something to solve these problems. And it was that stubbornness, right? And so when I was reading the article that all of that finally came up with, if you have a body that you're living with, you will feel like this. And they described it, all of those symptoms. If you have mineral imbalances, toxic metals, viruses your body hasn't been able to kill off, parasites, right? But we can do all of this by just giving your body what it needs, reversing all of this. And that means without flushes or cleanses. And I went, that's what I believe. And so
mm,
find that thing that you go, that's what I believe, and follow that in that curiosity. I think that's vital, because as soon as we start taking our own curiosity and dismissing it and going, oh no, that can't be true. My doctor said this is normal. Or my parents just told me, live with it, you're fine. You got to get on with your day. Someday you're not going to wake up feeling like you can get on with your day. And that was me. I had to learn to listen to myself. I was unable to tuck my kids into school and into bed rather. I was unable to take them to school. I was unable to make their lunches. We're talking everyday little small stuff. I was
yeah,
that tired. So that's living an obligatory life that can also lead to shame
yeah,
and guilt. And then there's the fear that comes right behind it. It says, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my home. I'm going to, I can't make money if I'm not working. And that fear just shuts everything down, doesn't it? It's just, you can no
yeah.
longer think. So,
Yes, yes, yes. I agree with that, and I think that, well, the what I can think of is that the root cause of many of these things is that we are used to being living into a busy state, into a state where you are just like this, and you perceive the small, narrow, let's say, field of sight that your father or your mom or your grandparents gave you. And if you stay in that, as you mentioned, curiosity cannot exist in that narrow uh, field of vision. But when you just take out your hands and you can see the 180 degrees that you are supposed to see, then you can start perceiving those things and just pick them up as you mentioned. And doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter how you did it, it doesn't matter anything. What matters is that the information arrived to you because you just have the time and have the openness of just saying, well, enough is enough, and I have to take responsibility of those things. I will do my search, even though I don't have a degree on whatever it is that I need to have a degree. I will search, I will find, and then the universe, the energy of the universe is rewarding you with the information that you need in order to make sense of your life, no?
yeah. Well, and remember, the first time you try to find the answer, it may not be there. It took me 16 years.
Yeah.
It took the maturity of Google to finally get to a point where it could say, "Oh, did you mean this?"
That's true. That's true. Technology wasn't enough for in those days in order to give you some of the best answers that you
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, it's not like today.
Yeah.
To
No,
misspell a word, get it completely wrong. I think I'm looking for that one movie about that one guy who went to Mars. Oh, did you mean such and such? Yeah, I did.
exactly. Yes. Nowadays they know more than you know about yourself many
Yes.
times.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So yeah, it's the two together though, isn't it? It's technology, science, let's put those two in the same bucket with your intuition. If you can put those two things together, ancient wisdom, intuition, those are the same thing too.
Hmm.
Um, and people say to me all the time, Eva, I don't have any intuition gifts. I'm not skilled. We all do. We just don't know to recognize them. And the number one easy one, if you ever have those moments, most often when you say, oh, I just knew that was going to happen, or I just knew that was the information that was correct, that's called claircognizance. That's a knowing without having reasonable excuse knowledge, beforehand. Um, but for me, I got the clairvoyance. That's the third eyes open, and I could see things in the theater of my mind.
Hmm.
Clairaudience, that's being able to hear, and I'm not schizophrenic.
Clarifying that, yes.
uh, and I've even had sometimes spirit speak to me through taste and smell.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
as,
That's
as well
that's
as
that's beautiful because we are not, yes, we are not aware of those fields of energy
yeah.
until we let them feel, and we allow ourselves to be more in silence and to be more in the space where those uh, messages move. No,
Yeah.
I I was remembering when I had COVID, and it hit me hard. It hit me in terms of I never felt that pain in my life,
Oh wow.
and it really debilitate me. I mean, I was not in the emergency room or anything like that because I am strong. I usually take care of myself, and I do all of these rituals, and I listen to my body and all of those things. And then that's what helped me. My mind helped me more than my body in those times because I was able to not be fearful of the virus, fearful that it was going to get worse. I just said, well, you are a virus, you need to survive, do your thing,
Yeah.
and let it out from me. No, you are not welcome anymore. You just have, I give you 10 days, let's say. I give
Yes.
you 10 days to do whatever you have to do, and then goodbye, because
Goodbye.
I need to recover. And I was listening to my body and listening to the signals. What was I going to need? And sometimes when you have those diseases that are just nowadays new and you don't know how to react towards them, well, you surrender. You surrender to your own wisdom, you surrender to your own body, and you just listen more. And I was sleeping a lot, I was meditating a lot. I didn't want to watch anything. I wanted to just close my eyes and be restful. And I was not hungry, of course. And I just had to manage the pain. And I said, well, each day is gonna be less, each day is gonna be less. And I won't take pills if I don't need them, because some days at the beginning I have to take some pills for the pain, and that's it. But I just took one, and then I waited like 8 hours, and I said, well, this is just for the night, and that's it. And the less I could medicate myself, the easier it went. Um, so I think those diseases that we have, as you mentioned, sometimes are the blessing that is going to take us into another path.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you doing what you do, when a body has an infection that or a virus to clear, it takes 9 days for it naturally to kick something out, which is why we're asked to take antibiotics for 10 days because there's one more day to be sure, right? One more day to be sure. But yeah, there was never a point in time during the outbreak that I lacked the faith in my own body's ability to recover. Now, I picked it up because I'm in Los Angeles, so I picked it up in the end of December. So
Mm,
before it had a brand label.
mm,
And this was really funny for me I was 48 at the time, and I woke up and I was like, huh, I have a really keen sense of smell. And so it started to fade, and I went, is this what happens when you get old?
Is that I think I'm getting older now.
Yeah. And then that was like a Wednesday or Thursday. By Friday, I was in bed, and I spent 3 days knocked out. And I just slept. And of course, there was the fever. And now I'd already gone through scarlet fever when I was 20. Scarlet fever was worse than COVID. I thought I was going to die when I had scarlet fever. So I knew what my body was capable of overcoming. And
Mhm.
that's the difference, is that you have, and I do too, faith in the body's natural design
Mhm.
to kill off what it needs to. The thing is, you have to give your body what it needs. We cannot just hope for the best. And that's right. So that's the difference, is that you and I both, when we had a faith in our body's ability. And so fear was not a part of the question. And I
Mhm.
don't remember having any fear. And so that's the difference when you have fear, which was instilled into a lot of people through media,
Yeah.
fear mongering. When you're in a place of fear, there's so much stress response cortisol in the body.
Yeah.
You lose your limbic brain. You cannot think logically. You
Yeah.
can, yeah. So you cannot make decisions, and nor should you make decisions when you can't think logically. That's just a disaster waiting to happen. And that is what happened to the mass of society all over the world. And it continues to go because people are still afraid of this virus. But it
Yeah.
is just a virus. And I say that not with firsthand experience and knowing how the body works, being specialized in building up the immune system and how to get it strong, going from the place of having autoimmune disorder at 20 to overcoming COVID at 48, no problem. I don't have the long COVID symptoms. My body's back to normal. So, like, being careful to pay attention to, like you said, streaming devices are one thing, but I don't watch television and I don't take in media that
Mhm.
purposely tries to manipulate my emotions. That's not fair to me. That's not self loving, right? And so, if we're living that self sacrificing life that says, I need to listen to the news or I'm not informed,
Inform. Yeah.
yeah, well, consider the source.
I,
Please. Yeah, because it was not to get political, I'm just going to say this. Reagan, when during his presidency, he removed the need for us to fact check. So we used to have to fact check our news. We no longer need to. And Reagan was president during the 80s. If you didn't know that, Google it.
yeah.
So, but it's been a long time since reporters have been driven by narrative. And this particular one about COVID and fear and how it affected our health as a general population, it's very scary, even for me to watch it. But not in fear. It's just more like I'm concerned for all y'all. I want everybody to feel healthy and to be able to overcome. And that's what I offer, is that ability.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more about the news. I That's the last thing I will watch until my time is done here. I really don't care what happens because I don't have any inherence, and that's what I tell people. I cannot do anything. Whatever is happening outside, whatever the news is telling me that is happening, which many
Yeah.
times is just to scare you, is not. I cannot do anything. So I better focus on what I can do,
Yeah.
what I can learn, what I can, the skills that I can start building or just developing, or and those things, and interacting with people, interacting with friends, with family. That's much better than watching news and be afraid of everything. Because, as you mentioned, that's a prime ingredient, I think. If you don't, I think that nowadays journalists are demanded to have one piece, well, at least one piece, which is many times more than that of.
Rumor.
Yes. yes, of fear in those kind of news and things. So, and that's many times the culture that leads you to these chronic cycles of then being guilt about something that also the same media produce in you, no?
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we should wear masks when we go out. We should do, and if I don't wear one and somebody gets sick around me, it's somehow my fault. Do not take on that responsibility. That has to do with that person's immune system, their history, and how well they or not how well they've taken care of their body, what medications they're on that deplete their body's immune system response. That has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is the fallacy that we've all been sold through media. And it's just really, you need to take care of your own body from as soon as you know that you own one, like as soon as you're aware, I'm in a
Yeah.
body, I need to take care of this. Man, you don't get a new one at 50. I know. So
Yeah. Yes.
you have the same one. Take care of it because this is the host of your soul. And without it, you're not here. So, yeah, take care
For
of it.
me, it's so surprising how people take care of anything material.
I know.
Sometimes their phone,
Their
sometimes the
car.
computer,
Yeah,
sometimes their car, sometimes whatever it is, but it's just a thing that they can touch
yeah,
and that is outside of them, instead of taking care first of their bodies
yeah.
and what are they doing with their bodies. And I many times I make fun of physicians sometimes because I say that they are the first ones to know our to know the body, to know how it works, and
Yeah.
that should be in all of the courses that they take, knowing the body, knowing it like an expert of the body. And when you see many physicians, I'm not generalizing, but many of them, you just by the image that they have, and you say, well, you are going to give me advice? Really?
Yes.
I don't think so. No?
Yeah. Well, and I like to say, we expect a lot of our physicians, but really we're asking them to step outside of their comfort zone. So the curriculum in medical school is to learn medicine, which is literally how to prescribe medicine for what's going on with the physical body. Like they know anatomy, they know how to name all the little parts and pieces inside of us. But the lane that they want to stay in my opinion, because this has worked really well for me, and this is how I teach and coach how to navigate all medicine, because all medicine is good in its right time. If you break a
Yeah.
bone, right? If you've been on fire, if you're bleeding, that's trauma care. Go to the doctor, go to the white coat, go to the person who can sew your finger back on. Like, there's no amount of prayer that's going to make the finger go back on. Yeah, right? But when it comes to, okay, we've done the surgery, now we're post surgery, now we're home and we're healing. That's entirely different. And if we all understood the two different places to stay in our own lanes, I would never attempt surgery. People say, Eva, you do so many things. What don't you do? Brain surgery. I don't do brain surgery. Like,
Yeah.
so I have fun with the answer. Maybe someday I will. I don't know. I've got lots of energy left. So um, maybe. But when it comes to healing, it's the how do you get the body to heal in the way that it will produce for you that right result. We should be healing without having the pain medication is one thing, but if we don't take care of ourselves, we'll end up with digestive issues by taking the pain medication, right? Slows things down, not to be graphic, but it really makes it difficult to heal when you can't go. So hydration and sleep, they all get messed up, and scars don't heal. Wounds will not close completely. Um, you can improve all of that. All
Hmm.
of that can be improved, but it's about the healing, not about the medicine. Two different things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you mentioned about energy. And I think that that would be a good segue to the next topic, that is the energy. how did you feel when you had those emotions of guilt, fear, and all of these illnesses that you described at the beginning? When you start um, healing each one of them and you start raising your level of energy, how did you feel? How did you perceive it? What happened in your life?
Yeah. Well, even though I had that moment of that resonates with me, I want to do that. I want to give my body what it needs. You just have to know what it needs. And so that I did the tests in order to find out. And at first, there's still a little bit of maybe this won't work. It's a small amount because you're following your intuition. Your intuition, can really be helpful in guiding you and giving you that courage to try something new. So I had gone from a state of, let me try this new, at the time it was the miracle coconut diet. And oh my God, I think keto had just come out. I'm dating myself. This is a long time ago. So here's what you do when you're on that path is you try something, like the miracle coconut diet, and you're like, oh, I got better 50 percentile, kind of. You get this idea about your feeling compared to what you were before you started. You feel a little better. Are you all the way better? No, but I'm somewhat better.
Mhm.
And those types of diets, they're not sustainable. You can't stay on them for life. So you stop them. And when you stop, for me, when I stopped, I went back to a worse place than I was before I started. So I lost some faith in trying new things, except I had that courage from, I just know this resonates with me. So I started to take the minerals and I started to have more energy. And as anybody who knows, if they've been on any holistic healing path, you have what's called healing crises or healing crisis is the best way to say it.
Mhm.
And during those times, you have a little less energy.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of go with the flow of what your body's doing. And I do this because this is the healing that the body does. If you keep it going in a healing cascade, it's 4 stages of healing, right? So I gained faith and I gained momentum when I went from not being able to do things like, so here I had all those symptoms, right? I never mentioned grief. But
Mhm.
my very first healing crisis was going through the grief process of losing my grandmother 7 years prior. And it took 5 minutes, as a healing crisis does. It's a percentage of the total time that you would have if you lived that event in real time, right? So the
Mhm.
feeling of grief, I finally went from being way too rigid, way too cold. I was at her funeral thinking, why can't I cry? Cannot cry. Cannot cry. I was just down to the bare minimum of emotional space. And so
Mhm.
after I cleared this energy from my body, I could feel it. Then there was a new level of energy available. So I went through a moment of needing to clear. That took a minute, 5 minutes, I said, 5 minutes. And then afterwards, my body is back to gaining more energy and it wanted to heal the next thing.
Mhm.
I didn't know I had grief as an issue. So then the body wanted to go after my arthritis. So I had chronic pain for years and years, and I noticed within a very short amount of time that went away.
Mhm.
Yep. And so once you start seeing the laundry list for me of 30 dumb symptoms going on, starts to dwindle, go down and down and down and down. You gain faith
Yeah.
and momentum in the process. And I think that was the biggest thing. I was like, I can listen to my intuition. It gives you a sense of confidence. And I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest feeling is that confidence that I was talking about earlier. It's so important to have that, the respect and I am a reverend, but I'm gonna talk about this like I'm on the preacher's box. It's like the reverence I have for how the body is designed and how we do not have control over what the body has to heal first, second, and third. We have to give that up, give up the need to know what it's supposed to heal first and second and third and fourth, and just let it go through its processes in its own time and just be there to recognize it. Like be there like you would be there for a friend. Be there for your body and go, oh, do you need to rest today? Okay, I won't push you to a workout or a tennis match in the hot sun. Let's just go take a nap, And it's that kind of relationship you build. And it's a deeper gratification. I mean, there's mental stuff, there's emotional stuff, so there's all these things that are going on that leads you to a very satisfying understanding of your relationship with your body. And to me, that's the ideal place to be.
Yeah, I agree that just surrendering, as we mentioned, surrendering to the power of the wisdom that the body knows,
Yeah.
that the body knows what is the order,
Yeah.
what is the sequence that it has to go. As you mentioned, you just need to give them the ingredients, and the body is going to make the recipe and to heal, and that's it. And it's not that complicated because many times it is just about knowing more what kind of food you are ingesting, what kind of activity you need to perform because you need to move your body, you need to be in motion, and that's also a process to allow emotions to be out of your system,
Yeah.
and rest, of course, reflecting things, all of the things that ancient generations did.
That's right.
And that's why they were healthier, because they had time, they had that, let's say, intuitive knowledge, because they were a lot more intuitive than we are now. And not in the sense that they had more capabilities or more abilities, in the sense that they didn't have too much distractions. They didn't have noise. And taking out the noise, taking out the chaos and all of these digital distractions,
Yeah.
I think we can replicate the model that they gave us. No?
There's a lot of very still useful to this day ancient wisdom about self-care. And we can keep it just to our own life and go back to kindergarten. Remember what we did in kindergarten? we shared, we took naps, we had snack time, we made time to play. Yeah.
Yes.
If we treat our body like it's like the body is still in kindergarten, we'll be a lot better off. Not the head, not the mind. Don't do that. It's just,
Oh, no, please.
yeah, treat it like a child, because every single time that we change something that the body expects us to do, like we get into routines for a reason. The body likes that routine. It wants to know what it's going to have. If we're out of routine or we have trauma, it takes 2 weeks for the body to recover. So don't be hard on yourself if you have something that happens, that comes up for you. Even if you judge it as good. Oh, I'm getting married. That's a good thing. Or I'm moving. That's a good thing. Or I'm selling a house and it's because somebody died. Oh, that's a bad thing. Regardless of how you judge it, the event is something that changes your life. And that takes 2 weeks for your body to fully recover from that. The cortisol, the stress response. And so be kind and allow for that time to release. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, to wrap up things, Eva, what can you tell people that they can do in order to overcome guilt, to overcome fear, and to find light, to find wisdom in the path to wellness?
Yeah. I think the hardest thing to do is get out of the mindset of codependency. Now, I get the response back for a lot of people when I say that is, oh, Eva, we're supposed to be codependent. We have to depend on each other. No, we're supposed to be interdependent. Codependence, by its definition, if you look it up, the dictionary has a definition for us to follow. It is the over expectation of a responsibility that you have to the other person's emotional state or their actions. And then it's vice versa, right? So this is the energy that goes back and forth between two people. Codependency is not healthy. We must stop thinking that we are, one, responsible for other people's emotions. Stop. I'm going to smack you. Smack. We must allow for that authenticity in a very gentle delivery. Learn those skills of how to communicate your own state, your own terms. I don't agree with you is a full and complete sentence that is okay. No is a full and complete sentence that is okay. Or let's talk about it so that I can make it work for both of us, not just you. That creates resentment, right? So all of these skills, they can be learned. And it's not necessarily just through emotional intelligence, because it's great to identify what emotion you're feeling. It's quite another to know what to do with it and what it means. So really becoming a master of your communication skills, your ability to recognize where you end and where the other person begins. Because the more we take on other people's problems, the more resentment your body holds, the more fear, the more codependency, the more angst, the more all of that happens. You are not other people's opinion of you. And in fact, that's the biggest one. Stop caring what other people think of you. Stop it.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to summarize and to wrap up these words of wisdom, let's say, that I think that many people have to listen more, and boundaries and trusting more in themselves, and just as you mentioned, saying what you need, saying what you want, saying what you don't like. It's
Yes.
not that difficult. We did it in kindergarten, as you mentioned. We did it and naturally, and we didn't care about what other people were going to think because
Yeah.
we were child. No, we were children, and those are really amazing. Let's say inspirational words so that people can reflect more. Thank you, Eva, for this wonderful conversation.
So
And
happy. Thank you for inviting me. Yes.
it was my pleasure. And where can people find you? Where can people find your information and everything?
Yeah, if you liked just a little bit of what I had to say, you're going to find a lot more on my website. So go to theelevateinstitute.com. So it's all together one big phrase, theelevateinstitute.com, and you can sign up there for a couple of things. One is the newsletter,
Mm,
and that's just me sharing what's going on, what events I have. I do classes every month, so you can see the event calendar through there. And the other one is I invite anyone who has questions, because everybody hears this and they have questions that pertain to them and them alone, and that is okay. So I offer a free 20 minutes. You'll find that scroll to the bottom and it says start here. You click on that and you'll have access to my availability, schedule a time, keep it, and we'll have a conversation talking more about you, because for every question that I answer, there's always two more to ask. And I'll help you realize if what I have to offer can be helpful. And if there isn't anything, I'll make recommendations.
thank you. Thank you, Eva. I will post also those links for the people to find you. And thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching. And of course, I always encourage you to give us your opinion, your questions, anything that you want. And I please just request from you to share the information, because the more people we help to wake up, to sense the other levels of energy that we have available, the easier we are going to heal as a whole, as a community. Thank you.